Hello everyone, this is Cinema Red Pill. My name is Timothy and I'm here with
Sharon
and Joel. Yes, I'm the host today.
for the first time.
Yes, I was coerced into doing this, but I hope I did a good job anyway. So today we are looking at a 2018 film that's called Annihilation. I don't know if many of you haven't seen it, but then it's on Netflix, so it's something you can easily get access to right now. Annihilation is a 2018 psychological horror film written for the screen and directed by Alex Garland. Yeah, so this film is based on a book called Annihilation, and it's the first in a trilogy called the Southern Reach trilogy. So it's a popular book, not as popular obviously as the 50 Shades books or Twilight, but it's in that line and probably could spawn a franchise, who knows. Yeah. The first one is Annihilation, the second one is Authority, the third is Acceptance. The film stars Natalie Portman, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Tessa Thompson, Gina Rodriguez, Tuva Novotny, and Oscar Isaac in a story that follows an all-female group of scientists on an expedition into a mysterious quarantine zone called Area X, where a metaphysical phenomenon called the Shimmer reclaims the area through mutating the various life forms within its boundary. In the beginning of this film, we're introduced to a former soldier who's also a biologist called Lena. She's played by Natalie Portman, and the movie begins with her being interviewed basically, and this character Lena returns from the zone after an extended period, and she's being interrogated about what happened to her team and everyone there and how she was able to get out of it, seeing as almost everyone who had gone into that zone had never come back. Yeah, so through a series, after this interrogation, the initial one, through a series of flashbacks, very long extended flashbacks, we're able to witness the reasons why Lena goes into the zone in the first place, and we see the physical and psychological effects of that zone on her and her team. The place they're in is called the Shimmer. That's the place. That's how it's referred to in the movie. The whole mission these people have basically is to make sure they get to a lighthouse, which is like the place where this Shimmer originates from, and find out what's causing it, and hopefully even stop it from expanding, because that Shimmer, the zone, the quarantine zone, is actually expanding, and in the long run will obviously encompass the whole earth, and that would be the end of life as we know it.
Can you describe its form?
No.
Start from the beginning.
Your husband's here.
Let me see him.
He's extremely ill.
You have to tell me where he was, what he was doing.
It was his decision to go in. It's something they termed the Shimmer.
We've sent in drones and teams of people,
But nothing comes back.
But something has.
You're a biologist. You served in the military.
If I knew what happened, I could save his life.
The boundary's getting bigger, it's expanding. We're talking cities, states.
You need to know what's inside. So do I.
It's based on a book that's the first in a trilogy. And by the time, and this director and the director-writer Alex Garland didn't really pay much attention to the other books. He basically wrote this film as its own standalone thing. He didn't worry so much about continuity or anything like that. He just wrote it to be a good standalone movie. And he took some creative liberties. Of course, also him, I was talking to Joel about it earlier. He was also a writer. He wrote The Beach, a movie which was also adapted by Danny Boyle.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was allowed to take creative liberties with the story. And one of the key things that he did in this movie was most people, when they're adapting a book, they usually go page by page. You read, you understand, write that down, this is a key point, all that. But what he chose to do in this case was write the movie entirely out of his memory of reading the book. So he read the book the first time, understood it, and whatever it was, then from there he went on to develop a script. According to him, the whole idea was to capture the fragmented, dreamlike reality within the Shimmer. So that was basically his aim. He wanted it to be he didn't want it to be too linear, too by the book and the facts. He was trying to keep it a bit fragmented in the narrative. Yeah, so first question I'm going to ask is, what do you guys think about the story and the narrative of the film? Just the story and the way it's told.
Let me see. Narrative-wise, it really was good. First of all, I like that they kept a lot ambiguous about the details of the story, which was very nice. So the dreaminess effect of it actually happens in many sequences, especially. Let me do a Joel. The end, and I almost kill you every time you do that thing. Anyway, that was really cool. But I remember. The entire film for me is especially about my experience with it, and that was what I enjoyed the most about it. So the thing I like is that it remains it's a coherent story, although it's keeping a lot of stuff ambiguous. You're never entirely lost for everything, which I think is a bit of a cheat sheet with the beginning or the flashback. I think that all the events are a flashback, and her interrogation
is the only
is a super explainer,
Yeah.
and it's over an explainer. It's like the second watch, which I did last night, I was like, wow, this is so much exposition, because a scene would happen and the guy would be like, so it was an alien. Like, we got that it was. You don't have to say it out loud. So there was that, but then I like that there was still a lot left ambiguous, and it's a kind of movie that I like, that I'm sure people have very many analogies which they can say, I'm going to explain Annihilation to you. But then, no, the entire point is for you not to do that. The entire point is the dreamlike effect of it. The entire point is just, its confusion is a part of the story. So I love the narrative in that regard.
Okay, from a point of view, like as someone who likes the genre of like old sci-fi and the structure, this was very much in that vein, where you have a weird phenomenon that happens, and you have a team of scientists assembled together. It's like, let's figure out this thing and like how it works, which is what sci-fi is before we evolved into blowing up alien ships, Independence Day style stuff. So it's good to come back to that, and of course coming off of Ex Machina, it was nice that he's still keeping on with that sort of version of purist sci-fi. So I really like this story, like Sharon, I think, and also you have said, the sort of disjointed structure I found very interesting. And I did enjoy how dreamlike it was, like just how they first enter the shimmer and they lose all these gaps of time, like her just struggling sort of remember what happens. I think their entry into the shimmer really got me when they lost like 3 days. Yeah, you're already in that sort of mode of disorientation. You don't know where north, east or west is. Beautifully done. I like what it sort of built up to, going to the end. And the end, I guess we'll talk about the end.
The end is its whole beat.
But like going back to the whole thing of how this is a sort of exposition, the movie, when you think about it, for me it works again within a sci-fi context.
That scene particularly.
Just in general, I think the whole structure, the way it works, where this guy is asking questions.
Don't get lost, we're here.
Yeah, that's how like purist sci-fi happens. Is where you're trying to understand what this thing is, and I like that again they didn't fully explain everything. And and I've been like reading a couple of essays on like Alex Garland's style and stuff, and how he sort of avoids giving you a clear explanation of what a character's thinking, what they're about to do. And I notice a lot of points in the story where he just sort of leaves things off ambiguous. Even like Natalie Portman's whole deal, why she like went into the shimmer. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on that make you curious. And I like that he stuck with that all the way to the end. We never got a definite answer of, no, this shimmer is here because of this and this, and like there's this grand plan. No, it's just some shit happened and people died. The end.
Things I liked the most about the film were, for starters, I liked science fiction, and I liked the science, that the way they were explaining it and the way it was explored in this film. I felt it was different because it was a bit detailed, and even the thing is the way the people, because this is part of characters, but again the characters, the way their knowledge in this field is also understated. Like, it's not a movie whereby this one is a specialist in this and they're always going to keep, you get like, how should I put it,
there's like a biologist and a physicist.
I'll compare it again to Jumanji. You get how there's a person who's a map guy, and that's his whole aim in the thing. Then there's a person who is for this. You get everyone has their role in the film, but it's not overstated. They don't. It's more about them
not the
as
point,
people, not
yeah.
them as I'm here to do this or whatever.
Like we need your skill.
Yes,
here for the
no,
plot to
yeah,
move
exactly,
on.
no, that's not the thing.
Yeah.
Another thing, as I said before, just the whole conflict within the story. The conflict, of course, they experience trouble from the environment they're in, the shimmer, how it messes with their heads, and even the life around them. But again, even the conflict between all of the characters was also just given as much time. It wasn't like they were running through a jungle, running away from alligators and whatever it was. They also had a lot of great, personal drama between them.
A lot.
Stylistically, you said you didn't like the whole interrogation thing. But I think it works because they were fairly short in comparison to the rest of the film.
Yes,
It is very short.
Yeah, probably they do exposition, but because it's short and then it happens for a short while, then you go back into the flashback. I'd probably forgive that. That's
No, I mean even
It's
the
not-
whole
it-
movie
it's
is
very
displayed.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
well done though.
yeah.
Even but is it fine to make comparison to other movies?
Yeah,
now?
yeah, you can.
Because the movie that we have both watched, I don't know if you've watched Stalker.
Stalker,
Yeah.
no, I have not.
Like Stalker does not give you any moment
Yeah.
to catch.
Yeah.
Like I almost was tempted while I watched Stalker to actually Wikipedia that plot because
Yeah.
these guys were giving me no entry. But eventually, like an hour in, you'll understand why they're even there. Like,
Yeah.
But then something like Annihilation lets you know
Yeah,
in
in
minute
advance.
15.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get like it puts you in really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah,
But
it
you
is.
oversee
Yeah.
it. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
So now let me go to the performances now and the characters and all that. First of all, I want your opinions on the performances of the actors, and then this is particularly to you. What did you think of the all-female cast, and what do you think they brought? What dynamic did they bring, as opposed to probably an all-male or mixed
Now,
expedition
part of
team?
me really hoped you would not actually
No,
feel
no.
compelled to ask this
No, I
question
thought-
because the movie does not pay that much
Exactly,
attention to
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Even the
Yeah.
marketing did not sell
Yeah.
it as that. There's
Yeah.
this thing that Hollywood is doing these days, like,
Yeah.
oh, look at us.
Exactly.
We empower women.
Yes.
The movie itself doesn't do that. None of that. You would never
Exactly.
like unless you looked at the poster or some website felt the need to point it out that it was an all-female crew. You never felt it. It is only mentioned once, and they
Once.
don't even say it's because they're women. They
Yeah.
say it's because they're scientists.
Yes.
Like it really doesn't
Lina says
care
all
about
women,
that.
and she's like all
And
scientists.
it does bring a very interesting dynamic in terms of it being women because we've seen a tag team of men do this kind of thing so many times, and we know how it usually goes. They're usually military men. Indeed, they were military men, and they have these macho issues. Like you could even see by the time the scene that happens in the camera showing the husband's crew, you could feel the vibe you would have gotten if you were watching that crew go through this
Exactly,
expedition
yeah,
in comparison
exactly
to the
to
women go
women,
through the
yeah.
expedition. But the main thing about this film is it's so cool that they're all women. It is so much fun, but it never pays attention to it. You're never there
Yeah.
saying,
Like, oh,
wow,
so
am I
all
watching some women
women,
problems here? You know, it is never that. It's just, I give it so much credit. I wish movies that did stuff about women did it like this, not parading the woman like, damn, how woke are we?
Yeah.
Like, look at us, how woke are we? It's the way they pander with diverse casts. So
I was going to compare it to
Yeah.
Ghostbusters actually, like the
Yeah, that's
female
what I'm
Ghostbusters.
do, man.
No, I was
You
going
know,
to say like the
it
two
is-
spectrums of
yes.
like casting just for the sake of say we're going to be inclusive or something.
No, that just
Then-
shows you how much of a marketing stunt Ghostbusters was,
Yeah.
because they leaned
Yeah.
so heavily into that whole thing. of, no, we don't have women in cinema. But when you have an obscure sort of art movie, nobody cares about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So nobody makes noise about it. They want
Actually,
they
yeah.
want more women roles in shitty mainstream blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
do you know the cool thing I like though is many times if it's a man and there's maybe even 3 women, we put so much effort in wanting the side characters to be great, but here you wouldn't even feel pressured for Gina Rodriguez to
Yeah.
be that good
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's just a surrounding of goodness and you're just happy.
Yeah.
So I dug it, but I love that they didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there was this issue that I was reading about actually just today when people are complaining about the race. Now when I think you leave one problem, you go to another one.
But
now they
Tessa
complain that
Thompson
in the
is
book,
black.
no, they complain that
I've known that.
Ventress
Yeah.
and Lina are supposed to, I think, be Asian, and one is
yes.
like Native American in the book.
In the book.
Yeah, so again, there's that whole whitewashing thing for one to bring up. On,
It's in the second book that they
Yeah.
describe them,
that,
and
exactly.
Thingy wrote that book
Yeah.
when those
Yeah.
other books hadn't yet
Yeah.
been made.
No, actually, I think they were made, but this
They
guy,
were
this guy,
writing them.
him, he didn't pay attention to anything after
Yeah,
that.
but that's but yeah,
still,
but yeah,
I
even
don't
the
know.
thing with race is that it doesn't really add anything to the actual story.
Yeah.
What their race is,
Yeah.
so it doesn't even matter. I don't think any of their races mattered, or their
It
sexual
didn't.
preferences.
Oh yeah.
It didn't
didn't matter.
impact the story at all. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like an
yeah.
extra tidbit. Otherwise, you could imprint yourself onto any of these women and
Yeah.
with the
Oh,
story. Yeah.
it was so
No, but I like how you point out the whole issue of like how in the film, because previously they had sent a lot of teams there, and they were mainly some male-dominated teams, and probably things went completely different the way it
Yeah.
went for this women. And the
The
way
way-
you say that, even there's that
that
whole
cut-
scene when there's the scene footage in the camera from when they were. I won't spoil for people, but then there's
No,
that
we are
scene. You
definitely
can definitely spoil.
spoiling.
Okay, when they basically got this guy and they show his insides moving, it didn't really go the same way with the women. So I don't know. I figured maybe there was something that the writer had in mind psychologically. I don't know.
No, he might have been referencing the common tropes you see in a male cast.
Yeah.
Is what I sort of
Yeah.
felt with those scenes. Because like Sharon said, you could take these scenes and you know exactly how the
How
movie
they
would have
went.
gone down with Oscar Isaacs and a bunch of macho male leads. With this one, I wasn't sure what to expect at all, especially when they go into details about like the characters specifically, why they're
Why
there,
they're
like
there.
how one has a drug addiction, and then another is like been cutting herself and stuff, like feel alive. Yeah, and then one is
lost
dying
a
of
kid.
cancer.
One lost a kid.
Yeah. So all those pieces I never knew, and the thing with the Shima is that everyone could go crazy.
Yeah.
So you were never really sure. You didn't have like that obvious like
Yeah.
pumped up
Testosterone,
male who you know
exactly.
is going to lose his shit
Yeah.
at some point.
In my first viewing of the film, I kept, when you're watching a movie, you be scared they're going to falter and
Yeah.
do something fake and lose you completely.
Yeah.
So you talked about characters losing their shit, and Gina Rodriguez actually loses her shit.
She
does.
She's the first.
So I was so scared because I really hated it. I was going to hate it so much if she had actually full on lost her shit and done what she wanted to
do. Yeah, that
and
would have
have
been
acted like the men in the video.
yeah, extremely.
I was not going to be a fan of that. Then my favorite thing shows up, the demon bear.
Fucked up. Yeah.
Oh my god, this movie will keep looking like it's going to do something that I hate and then pull off a move that really turns, and that demon bear was great. It was so horrific. It was
Horrific,
skin crawling. Like that is when you get a full body experience of what the hell am I watching.
Yeah.
I wanted to start that conversation. You guys go about that. Wasn't it dope?
Yeah, it was dope. I was going to say probably best performance by a bear since Revenant.
Really? This is reference.
Yeah.
No, I'll put them separate. I'll say bear in a speaking role.
Because this bear had some lines. It had some lines.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
That's a good way to put that, and I don't actually want to spoil what that bear's deal is.
Guys,
Deal is
you
just
better not be watching this unless you can't
Yeah, I
be listening
really
to this
hope
thing and you have
not.
not watched the movie.
Yeah, but it's so okay. But like basically, they sort of set up that in the Shima, a bunch of different cells from multiple species can crossbreed together,
Yes.
and basically you have one part of their crew that sort of gets eaten by a bear, but then you have a semblance of herself that like gets imprinted, and then when the bear roars, it's like her last cry.
Alas cries.
Help us!
Yeah.
She was Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That was a horrific scene,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're right. Like about like how it might have played out if Rodriguez just straight up went psycho and just murdered everyone. That might have been boring,
It was
but,
really boring. Really.
but
That
that
would
was
be
just yeah. But just that whole thing of like, oh, you're hearing this chick cry out for help. It's like, oh shit, she's alive. You don't know there's like a bear, a demon bear walking around, and just those scenes where it's like sniffing them and all up. My God, and I watched that at night. It was like some. That's a messed up. That's a messed
I
up
wouldn't
scene.
have been as calm. I
No,
would have
no,
been
no.
tripping all over.
I was like, Jesus Christ, yeah, but that was a very beautifully executed scene, and yeah, one small thing, in terms of performances, actually, specifically, again, really great all-round performances, but I felt like Natalie Portman was a little neutral.
What?
Yeah, I didn't, like, I sort of got specific sort of hints of character from everybody else. Like, I got Rodriguez's deal, I got Tessa Thompson's deal. Like, those seem to have like a very super defined personality, but not again, she was fine, but she was a little neutral for me personally, to where she wasn't quite dedicating to anything in particular. She was just like I'm the hero in the movie. I'm like kicking ass. Yes, she had backstory with Oscar Isaacs and everything, but just her expressions and the way she reacts to things were pretty much neutral for the most part, I felt. Even at the end.
I really did not feel that way.
Yeah.
And I can't believe you brought up the end, because the dance whole thing is great, and I don't think I don't think Regina Rodriguez would have been able to execute that.
No, she wouldn't.
And then I even felt like I'd seen her Oscar shot, because there's a moment where she's killing the crocodile, and she really looks like she's been in the military.
Yes.
Like, that was so powerful.
Yeah.
And those things were so affecting for me. And her neutralness, she was holding a secret, and it was kind of a part of her. And between that, setting herself up like that with that gunshot scene, and the end sequence where, in the trippy scenes, where she's actually dancing with her doppelganger, like, great to me.
I don't know, it just felt like I wanted a little more there.
What were your thoughts?
That's
Tiebreaker.
Yeah.
No, I felt she was pretty much probably the voice of reason in the group, because there's Ventress who's like the boss.
Wasn't Ventress more the voice of reason?
No, Ventress was the one who was like, let's keep
Even
going.
more
She was
removed from
way
the
more
others.
removed from the others. She didn't. Basically, all these guys were looking at her because she's a biologist. She has experience in the army.
Yeah.
So I think she was trying to play that whole cool thing. And of course, again, probably she was closed off because she had a secret to hide.
Yeah.
She didn't want them to know why she's invested in this whole mission in the first place.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. For as far as themes go, I feel one of the things that metaphors or whatever they're trying to explore in this film. I feel the first thing, which they always keep dropping here and there, is the human, or man and woman, basically our propensity to self-destruct.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the
That
whole
is-
thing with addiction and all that, and that again manifests itself in things like, as you mentioned it earlier, there's this thing everyone says that it's a metaphor for cancer, which I really don't see.
Hate that analogy.
I don't really see. I don't see it.
Into narrow.
It's so
No, I don't think it is.
And also 'cause
no,
she talks
it
of
could be.
tumors
It
and
could be.
shit.
No, yeah, because there's a lot of talk about tumors and the effect. And but then the thing,
my worst.
the main thing, because even you talked about Stoker, because Stoker was basically seen as a killer. You've heard of the Chernobyl disaster?
yeah.
Yeah, so Stoker was seen as like a prophecy of that. Yeah, and again, I feel that could
Happened
be.
before.
Yeah, it happened way
which
before.
is so
way
weird.
before. Yeah, and I feel that's the same thing. Probably the whole, maybe something we was trying to explore in this film is probably the effects of, say, a nuclear event. I feel like a meltdown.
The shimmer.
Yeah, the shimmer. Because it has the
Sorry.
exact same effects.
Timothy-
It has the exact same effects.
Okay.
So like, say, a bomb dropping on Nagasaki has the exact same effect that it has
Radiation.
on. Yes.
Okay.
That recent meltdown at a Japanese thing is that where guys had to clear out the whole, basically an island or something.
Yeah.
I feel it has there's that relation to it and technology, the advancement of man,
Okay.
whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
What else?
Another thing is I think also advancements in science. Because again, there's that thing like where you see in the beginning they describe the shimmer as like it's reclaiming the land, it's something that has to be get rid of or something. But inside, it's actually redesigning things to a completely whole new design. And so, and even there's a scene when they're interrogating and they're like, I don't remember the exact same lines, but there's something along the line of it was destroying everything, and then she's like, no, it was basically changing everything. Yeah, so yeah,
Sorry.
it's something I see that was in the film. But again, the one which I was just going to, because I wanted to see if you guys thought of the cancer thing, something I really wanted to talk about and see if it's really there. Because that's like, from what I've read, that's like the accepted general theme.
Okay,
Everyone thinks.
Explain the cancer thing.
No, I think because now Ventress. There's Ventress.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
it's what?
It's a boring analogy.
I
I
know.
don't like it.
There's Ventress. There's Ventress who has her cancer, and you could. Some people are saying you could compare her going into the thing to basically euthanasia. You get
Yeah.
someone basically
Yeah.
saying, "I'm done with chemo. I'm actually going to face this thing head on."
And just to
yeah,
die.
yeah, and again another thing is who was it? Oscar Isaac. Now, because he was dying and all that before, but immediately this thing disappears. He cures immediately, which could also again be compared to saying like the Shima's probably like. Those are comparisons I've seen. I don't know what you guys really
The
want.
biggest one has been cancer.
Cancer. That's the
Yeah.
one, and I really.
I
don't
don't
know,
like
like-
it.
Okay,
I
so
find
which themes did you
Like-
guys really?
Like personally, I didn't zero in on anything that's specific of, oh no, he's about cancer. But like I sort of broadly saw the movie as this sort of almost nihilistic view of like life. It was like you talked about the whole self-destruction thing, and when they introduce the characters, these are characters who basically sort of are at their wits' end and don't really have much to live for. Tessa Thompson sort of wants to feel alive, so you
Alive,
get why
yeah.
she's running
She's
into
running there.
danger. Even the way her story ends, beautiful scene by the way. is her basically she
That's
self-destructs.
Tessa
Yeah.
Thompson.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
She
good.
just self-destructs.
And that's one
Tessa
of the
Thompson
scenes I
is a
didn't
beautiful
really
actress.
like in my first viewing.
Of Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, when she just walks off, I'm like,
I loved it. I loved how she was like out of shot and you're trying to catch up with her.
Yeah, and she's not there.
Beautifully shot scene. Then you have what's her face what like cheated on her husband, Natalie Portman's
Natalie
character.
Portman,
Yeah, so she sort of has that guilt thing and then also trying
she
to
wants
figure
save him.
stuff out.
She gave up on him. She doesn't want to give
Yeah,
up on him.
then you
now.
have Ventress who's basically dying.
Giving up.
And I found I actually attached more to Ventress's story to where she's sort of I guess trying to find some meaning in life when you're sort of confronted with death or like just loss in general. Where her goal is get to the lighthouse. It doesn't really make sense because it's not like she's going to get to the lighthouse and find the cure for cancer or anything like that. It's just she needs like some sort of purpose or some sort of goal.
Sure, because I felt like hers was
She
almost a
just wanted
suicide
to
mission.
go.
That's what,
No,
that's
no,
what
yeah,
I got from her.
no, that's what
She
I'm
wanted to
describing. I'm
face
trying
it
to
and
sort
go
of
away.
get because again, it doesn't give us any full details of what's
Yeah.
going
Yeah,
on
what's
in
going
her
in her
head.
head, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sort of trying to interpret what I saw because she never really lets anything off from her facial sort of
No,
expressions.
but there's a scene where they're like, did you know Ventress was never coming back? There's something where someone mentioned.
That's in the
Yeah, when they're
in the
interrogating, yeah.
interrogation.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I figured like she could tell she had
Yeah, but that's the
cancer.
thing is that she could have well as just sat in a room somewhere and
and
died,
died,
but
yeah.
she chose to like take on a mission with some
Yeah.
sense of purpose and meaning, where they're trying to save the world, basically trying to figure out what this shimmer is before it consumes everything.
Yeah.
So the way I interpreted her whole deal is like like in life generally, was when the minute we're born, we're confronted with death and we're like looking for some sense of purpose, like have the short life we have some meaning, which is why she's like so driven, like when she leaves them behind, like no, I'm just going
yeah,
to go
I'm
to the
going,
lighthouse
yeah.
without you, I don't care. So I really attached to that, and thematically that's what I attached to, like Ventress running towards the lighthouse and Tessa Thompson self-destructing and turning into a tree basically is what I really attached to. And for me the shimmer was just life, basically just harsh unapologetic life, and it didn't give a damn, because I like that conversation about how they thought, oh, it's trying to destroy stuff, but it's actually changing stuff. And that's the thing, is life just goes on, it does stuff. Planets are born, they explode, they move on, they don't give a damn about the living things living on. It just moves, life moves. And that's how I sort of saw the shimmer itself, and I thought the entire thing was beautiful. That's how I interpreted that. So for me, limiting it to like it's about cancer.
That's why I find those analogies so boring. First
Yeah.
thing is, I've now understood why you don't like Natalie Portman. Like even the people you connected to the most were like I'm the opposite, because I'm all about Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac, because my theory, which is so cool about this movie, we both have different takeaways.
True.
Because for me, my takeaway was the movie was mentioning its main theme over and over again: self-destruct. And when they became very literal about it and made Oscar Isaac destruct himself, I was like, as you've gone far with this. But then they were all about that. But my entire thing really bodes back to the actual closing shot of the film,
Yeah.
where it shows they both come out of the shimmer,
Yeah.
and they're different people,
Yep.
but they can still recognize each other. So I of course loved the whole theme of how all of us human beings are naturally self-destruct. It's just more apparent in certain people,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed that it could be seen as corny with her cheating on Oscar Isaac, but that was her method of self-destructing a relationship that was otherwise really good.
Yeah.
So now those are the reasons, because they make it seem like because of her self-destructing herself is why Oscar Isaac went in the first
It was a
place,
self-destruct.
and that's what motivated her to go after he had gone.
Yep.
So
Wait, so you're saying that he didn't see her before?
No, but
She
but
was
he
cheating
knew
after.
But he knew
No,
she
no,
was
no, no.
cheating was the deal, and then he went on
he
that
went
suicide
because of
mission.
the cheating. It happens in a conversation with a black guy. It was very clear.
Yeah.
It was very clear with
Where
the
she
guy
just
she was
live says,
cheating
yes,
with.
he
Like
knows.
he knows, and
Yeah.
this is a bad thing for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
But-
why she comes to him and when he's like on the bed and it's like, I know why you went in and I owe you.
So almost all of it is based
It's-
on that kind of self-destructive
exactly.
cheating.
I'm just learning that one now, because my figured even the thing of him finding out was probably something like just them. Because did he actually know? He didn't know, right?
He didn't know because he was
When did
acting,
he say he knew?
Because he was acting strange the whole time. Remember how she was mentioning how he was acting weird before he was going on this mission?
Yeah.
No, the
At
silence
first-
was quieter than usual. So
Exactly,
she said,
yeah.
Before
Because
he left.
so
No.
because at first when I watched that scene, I thought, oh no, it's because he's going on this super dangerous thing
yeah.
where I assumed he's going to die for sure.
She
But then
explains
later in that scene where she's sleeping with the black dude, it sort of dawned on her that no, this dude knows I've been cheating on him while he was away.
So they make it the reason as to why
Why
he
she
leaves.
goes, why he goes and why
leaves
she
and then
goes
she
afterwards.
Okay, I hadn't picked up on that one. That's something I'm just seeing now.
Now, where was I? Oh,
Yeah.
so my entire thing is about when they when they enter the shimmer changes you. So he has come back. He's a whole other person. He's even asking her like, just accept me the way I am now. And when she also comes out, she's a different person. So that hug at the end could be interpreted in two different ways, that the shimmer comes back.
Yeah.
But it also, to me, is like a second chance for them as the two of them. So those two and their self-destruction and how the shimmer changes them and what it means for them when they get out of the shimmer.
Yeah.
As two people who are completely different, but the important thing is they still recognize each other. Like that is the apparent thing. They recognize each other, like I was looking for you. Even how she knows he's the husband. But they are completely different people with very little memory of everything. So which I think that was the only symbolic thing I found about the shimmer, was how much it changed people, and at the end when they come out.
That ending was so
But
ambiguous.
otherwise
Yeah.
it was
No,
just
I figured-
dope how it used to make
I
those
figured the ending
quotations.
was just like him leaving it a bit open-ended, because he
Yeah.
probably knew the other
Because-
books or something, and
Yeah,
you have to
because-
continue the.
Yeah, because I felt
saga.
like the shimmer had almost devolved them to like this very basic primal state. Where it's
Which
like
is good.
which is like I recognize this person,
Hey.
I love them, I'm going to go to that person. And,
Yeah.
like, that's about it. And I liked also the ambiguity, because we're sort of introduced to like cloning of sorts when they like meet that
Yeah.
creepy cloud
Yeah.
of mush. And Oscar Isaacs is clearly, like, for me, it was like he's clearly that cloud thing. So is he actually Oscar? Because it's like it adopts Oscar Isaacs into itself and becomes this other new, completely different thing. And then even Natalie Portman, they sort of now made me start questioning, because I thought for sure the real Natalie Portman left.
Yeah.
But then the way they phrased
It-
stuff at
yeah,
the end was
it's
like,
like
did some
so much
stuff like
a
switch
switch,
on the way,
exactly.
and then she turned into the cloud thing, and then became. Anyway, I like how open-ended it is.
Yeah, that's
Just-
that was one of the most confusing things for
Yeah.
my first viewing. I didn't know if it was the real one who remained and died, or the real one left.
But both of them have lost so much of themselves,
Yeah.
if at all.
Mm.
Just, I think that's why it was super important that she recognized him.
Yeah,
I think because at least there's still
yeah, because
the original past. So
yeah, because I still also agree with your theme of like them sort of moving on, and how you can still take it as like an actual relationship thing, where they've sort of gone through this super rough thing that they're never going to recover from, but they've sort of met and they're going to move forward to something new. I could still see it working in that tapestry again.
It all works.
To watch it,
Yeah,
it was like,
it's 5 times to actually
All of
unpack
it,
everything.
all our things are the correct ones. All of them work. So what's
Yeah.
next?
I just want to ask about the technical aspects of the film. What's the technical stuff you guys like from the score, this editing, the way it was shot? Okay, for starters, I really liked the production design of the film. Because I understand, because you can tell it's probably not present day, not the present day. It's probably sometime in the future, but it feels very grounded and. Even inside the shimmer, especially in the shimmer, just the way the whole set design, it was.
It's like that arrival timeline.
Exactly. and again, just the way I think I don't know, because again they claim that the shimmer is reclaiming the landscapes, and it's again a similar thing. There's very many similar scenes that you can see in Stoker when like just plants have grown over tanks and
they
over
have those
houses.
scenes.
Yeah, so I really like the set design, just showing like this. It's not a wasteland. It's actually very beautiful, but it's a wasteland where it's just there's no human living there. I also liked there's this, the way they used color. There was always this rainbow effect. First of all, the shimmer itself looked beautiful as far as visual effects go.
Beautiful.
If for people who are listening, someone describing it, that's almost like a soap bubble. I feel a soap film, you know, like when you get film and you open and you can see the colors. That's kind of the effect of the shimmer you get.
Really,
Like if you open the film, that color.
bubble
That's like
shimmer.
basically the way the shimmer. And that's they keep the VFX to mainly the creatures that they meet.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of the environment they're in was CGI but I know no Garland isn't doesn't choose CGI a lot. He's one of those purists who don't know.
For the forest.
The forest, I think the forest was probably a lot of it was
was a
probably
mixture,
Yeah, probably there are some sets.
Yeah.
Then there are some parts which were really natural.
Yeah, I feel like they would have actually constructed a studio forest set and then mapped out the background with CGI. Is what it looked like, because like that scene where they're with the crocodile, that looks like a constructed set. It doesn't look like an actual sort of lagoon, sort of pool that exists. There's a way it's very sort of closed off and meticulously organized, like to work for that scene to work.
That's something probably which I should look into.
He talked about. I heard him talk about it. He said they had a whole forest setting in London. Those
Like
it's the small additions that were made to that set.
Like they were in a legit
They were
forest
in a
or
legit
studio?
forest
Okay.
I know Garland is a bit of a Nolan stickler, practical effects and all
stuff.
that. The score, especially in that final scene in the lighthouse, I think that's when the score really popped out for me. Because before that, I wasn't really hearing it until that scene now in the lighthouse is when it has that effect, that very unsettling effect when these people are basically mirroring themselves and she's trying to struggle it. I felt it added a lot to that scene. It probably wouldn't have worked as well. Probably by the time you reach that scene and now you're seeing doubles, you're just too confused. You're like, nah. But then now there's the way that thing basically set that the whole tone for that scene. Another thing is I would say the color. As I said before, the shimmer, the visual effects has that rainbow effect in it, and pretty much everywhere in the shimmer, because apparently the shimmer refracts everything. So there was rainbows and they formed by refraction, I think. So there's that almost rainbow effect, that spectrum effect everywhere. Exactly. It's everywhere, even just like outside in the open, it has that rainbow effect through windows, and it was something I felt was, because I've seen people praise its visuals, I think that's probably its biggest defining feature. Even the poster, you can see that rainbow effect. It's almost like the motif, the thing they picked out from the film. It was really unique to me. That's what I saw. I don't know. Editing, I think it was down to the style of the director. That's pretty much, you can see from Ex Machina, the way he uses intertitles.
He also uses them here.
Exactly. And yes, it's coming from interviews, interrogations, basically chapters. And I think that's his background probably as a writer. It's something he likes doing. That's his style.
I also really dug the sets. I particularly like the silicone trees on the beach. I think are very interesting. Just the biology of all of it, because the way they set up Natalie Portman teaching that biology class and talking about like cells coming together and stuff. It was nice sort of just see that blown up on a massive scale. The veil looked really stupid to me in the trailer.
What's a veil?
The shimmer.
The shimmer, sorry, yes,
Okay.
the shimmer, yes. It looked really dumb, looked like some cartoony, colorful thing, but in the context of the film, by the time I got there, I was super into it. So into it. And I just liked all the creature designs. I liked the alligator with shark teeth, the bear, we've talked about the bear. Everything
The
was
plants,
just,
there were
plants
like cobs. There were
themselves.
cobs which had like flowers on
Yes.
their antlers or something.
Yes,
There's
and
a lot of diverse.
yeah, and I just also really dug the characters explaining that stuff. Just like when they found the trees shaped like people and how they're explaining the human
Explaining,
box gene, and I ate that stuff up. It was amazing. Then, of course, for me, the pinnacle was a lighthouse set. That's just the simplicity of that video camera and that hole going into the ground. That I thought that was so brilliant. I thought the design of the hole was brilliant. When it could have just been like a little plaster and they made it veiny and stuff, but it was so haunting. Like I did not want to go down there. And then even just the makeup effects and stuff were interesting. There's a brief scene, I don't know if I saw badly, but there's where like Ventress's eyes seem like completely closed off. Did I imagine that?
Yeah,
When-
the beginning
when she
when
was
she
in
enters.
the
Then she
Yeah.
looks back and she's fine.
She's all
It was
green.
so creepy.
It was.
But
creepy.
it wasn't. Was it Ventress or it was her double?
It was.
It was
Ventress.
Ventress.
Wasn't she
Ventress
still?
gets a double?
Was she still transforming? Because her face was completely.
It was Ventress,
It was.
and
It
then
was the
she
way
got-
Lina's face was when
But
this
she
other thing
turns
was.
and she becomes.
Yes,
Wait,
exactly.
Then
So you
like the
think
cloud.
she
No,
had-
the
oh,
cloud
I
was
see.
inside
her.
and then it came out. Jesus. Yeah, and I also liked that aftermath scene in that old base. That guy that Oscar Isaacs had cut open, where like his body parts are
his
like
intestines.
flung. Yeah, there's a lot of cool body
Oh yeah,
horror
yeah,
stuff
yeah. It was
generally
really
going on in there.
very colorful. Yeah.
And even this is, I guess, is more of an editing technique, because like when Rodriguez realizes like she's looking at her hand and like
and
stuff
it's-
is moving. I don't know that we actually see that.
No, we don't see.
But the way that is shot and it's silent, like she realizes something's
Something is
wrong.
wrong.
She looks at Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman sees it too. Great stuff. The whole thing of the insides moving when they cut. Lot of great body horror stuff, and it wasn't so much that I was like, I'm shutting this off. It was that kind of thing where you couldn't look away, but you're like really, really horrified. And again, I liked the old school sci-fi thing of just people in military fatigues, basic army base. Let's figure stuff out.
With their backpacks.
Yeah, they were backpacks. Yeah, I really dug that. So, in terms of production design, this was a beautifully executed film. It exceeded my expectations, in fact. Yeah.
I know. I don't need to say much more. You guys have exhausted it. I think there's just something I'd written how there's a point where they ask Natalie Portman that isn't it nightmarish? She's like, yeah, nightmarish, but also beautiful.
Yeah.
That's like a perfect description for how the sci-fi was.
Yeah.
Oh, that stuff was so cool. The mutations were cool, and of course, I like the double ganger a lot too. The way that double
the
ganger
whole
was
chrome
moving.
body, like
It was really cool and
Yeah.
really creepy.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
That's the thing, is that would be like bad CGI in any other context is the thing, because it's not like very intricately designed.
exactly.
No.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
a
the
blob
thing.
of
Like, I was
shiny.
wondering
shiny,
where
yeah.
did they stop and decide this is the fine one? Like, cause you would, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
weird where they
Yeah.
stopped at with that thing.
Exactly, because the sort of simplicity of its sort of unfinished design, it's creepy imagining looking at that in real life,
Yeah.
and having it imitate you and
Imitate
shit.
you.
And when she like it pressed her against
Oh.
the door,
Yeah.
my
That's so nice. And the only other thing with technical thinking with the score though, like the score, they had that score, I think the one which you're talking about, which was like the electronic thing, which was I liked it. But then there was the soundtrack which they had, which was like a country song.
In the
the
beginning,
song that
yeah.
repeated,
Yeah, that
How
whole thing
that
is
song
it.
was working. I liked that a
And it had-
lot.
It worked for me the second
It
time.
worked for me
There
all
was
those times. And I was shocked how he was really shifting the tone of the film, because
Yeah.
having that
Yeah.
alongside that guitar
Yeah, that
beat
was a nice
is really,
mixture,
really
yeah.
cool.
And I don't know why I've forgotten the lines in that song, but there's something very interesting. Is it they
I
are
shall
two
play
alone,
it.
they are two alone, and then they are three together.
They used to always play them for Oscar Isaac and her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like. Okay.
I used to remember the words, but they like really
that's
came
it for
to
me.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
end.
exactly. It came together at the end. I'm just forgetting the exact words that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it for me on
Another thing I just want to talk about are parallels. You think with other films you've already mentioned, Stalker.
Can I wait? Before you go to that, that should be the end, I think.
Yeah, that's
There's one thing I wanted to ask you guys if you noticed, because I didn't notice it the first time I watched it. Then someone pointed it out. Then of course I looked for it when I watched it again. But in the beginning of the film, Gina Rodriguez has a tattoo here. It's black and it's an 8. Then in the scenes later on, it moves to Natalie Portman.
That's the
if you
thing,
would remember,
I was confused
yes.
because I thought,
I also saw
I
it
saw that
and
and
I
I assumed,
said,
okay, maybe I
see
imagined,
it.
okay, Natalie Portman always had that tattoo.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Which is really cool. And of course, then I had to dig into why that was happening, because the shimmer used to change you, but then it would also make a part of someone else you. Like it would mutate someone else's DNA and mix even yours, the way they were mixing the animals, like even other human beings things were exchanging. So there was that tattoo. And then they also pointed out how Oscar Isaac had a different accent in his video, because he has like a southern accent, and it became very apparent when I had read about it. It was very apparent. So that was also like someone else's whatever. That's like a thing. Yeah, I read about.
But yeah, but it makes sense, like them being in proximity to each other.
but the 8th thing I also saw it
thing
and
is there. I hadn't seen it. I hadn't
saw it
even
in
noticed
one
it.
of her final
Because
scenes.
there's a point where they make her scratch her arm, like, ow, it's bruising.
Yeah,
then nothing else ever comes up about it. But then, and then
No,
it's
she
very
tests it, she even
apparent.
tests it, I think, and then she sees like stuff dividing in there. And then,
But then when she's in the interrogation room, it's open. Very, very open. It's right there. It's right there. And then, although something I've not gotten the deal of, I don't know if you guys know, is with the water. Because water was a thing. Like the camera was focusing on water so much. Like the water in the glass.
Yeah.
Did you pick up anything on it?
Yeah, that was, I think, Shangri-La. She's talking about the refraction.
The refractions of the whatever.
Because even in the final scene, it's something I saw. Because when you put your hand behind this glass, if you look at it from here, it's going to. But in Natalie Portman's, one of the final scenes, the hand is actually facing her. It's facing the whole other side.
I knew something weird was going on. Like they kept showing it.
That's just showing the effect
has
of the
to be
shimmer.
going
Probably
on.
when you come out, all your DNA, whatever it is,
Also,
aura probably has been refracted.
Also, doubly like on a biological perspective, in terms of the way life was formed, it was water where all the amino fluids and stuff. Water was an essential ingredient for basically all living things, and still is. Is it 80% water or something? Yeah. So it also works on that.
Works,
on that sort of end.
That does work.
Yeah.
Those are the only things I
Okay.
That's a lot to unpack. Okay.
No, I really just want us to go into the movies with parallels.
movie parallels.
Movies
Arrival.
Do you think Arrival is?
I just think it's okay. It's not a parallel, but I felt like it was the better sci-fi since Arrival. But also, it would even be similar to what Stoker does. Like they're using sci-fi to talk about other philosophical ideas, which is what those movies do. Which is. But is that what Star Wars is?
Star Wars is science fantasy.
Hey.
Yes. Star Wars has wizards.
Today I learned. Okay. But but I just thought in terms of, first of all, even it being a lead who's a chick and she's having a marital weird, like it even starts in that way with the way she's a teacher and everything. So I think there's really some parallels there. And in terms of it just... Yeah, there's some parallels there with the hubby also being disoriented by shit. Here they're exploring language. Here it's what? Self-destruction and all those other things we assume. All those things. I think there's some parallels.
Yeah. For me, the biggest parallel that I connected with was 2001. Just basically like one sort of overall theme in 2001, which is like the evolution of mankind and what the next step is in like sort of the journey of life. So for me, the shimmer is ripe with that stuff. It's all about evolution and change and like what we will turn into next. I found very interesting and very creepy, and also just the tone of that final scene with that cloud monster thing, whatever it is. And the way this dude in 2001 like dives into I don't know what dimension and like a lot of crazy stuff happened. I got those vibes watching it, and that final scene really brought Annihilation home for me in those sort of terms. And again, in a sense that sort of followed that structure of sci-fi, where I felt disoriented and I was glued to the screen trying to understand what the hell is going on. So I like that it blew my mind enough that they didn't give me all the pieces and like this means this and this means this. It's just what it was, and even the fact that they killed it was a strange sort of thing. Even watching it die was actually really beautiful. You know,
fire.
Yeah, but it's just all a strange thing that happened. And just the way it wraps up, where she's answering every question with I don't know. Very beautiful stuff as well. Yeah. So for me, at 2000
Parallels, I don't know. I saw films that usually involve expeditions and long journeys, and whereby on those journeys, the psychological toll basically of journeys shown, basically movies like Apocalypse Now. I felt that is the decent parallels.
Descent into Madness.
Yeah. Descent into Madness. I felt there's the Fountain.
Yeah.
Darren Aronofsky, Hugh Jackman looking for the fountain of life for youth. Yeah, basically, and basically this thing makes him crazy by the end. By the time he gets to it, I don't know. I know you're going to thank me for this, but I felt Interstellar. There's a parallel there. I felt it was there. And there's not the other one is probably old. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Aguirre. It's a one-out film, The Wrath of God. It's basically about guys going.
God, I've had that for years.
I bought it for you. I'll
Seen
give it to you. You have it already.
Yes,
yeah,
it's
basically this
amazing.
guy is going to like these jungles in Peru, and basically these conquistadors and the toll of all this exploration, what it takes on them. So, but again, Stoker, as you mentioned, is the one that they mostly
The
compare it to.
main
And when I
parallel.
rewatched it yesterday, I was like, Jesus, this
The
is
movie
so
will starts like Annihilation,
Yeah.
though. Like,
very
so
much.
insane.
And even the weird thing is that the director Tarkovsky is not mainstream at all. But the way, like in that movie, how he separates the world outside of the zone and the world in the zone. You know how the world outside the zone is like shot with this very brown tint, the sepia. Then when he goes into the zone, it's color. It's just color. It's normal color.
Wait, that thing was confusing me.
Yeah.
I even
You
thought
wonder-
I had a
No,
problem with my
no,
copy, but
that's-
he was making
He was
a
actually
drastic
doing,
shift.
it was a drastic shift from like very hard film footage to this color thing. Yeah. So it was interesting, like actually to see Stalker, a movie compared to it, and seeing the parallels was because there are a lot of things that are there. Basically, the whole spiritual journey these people go through. That one is more philosophical. This one is more scientific. So, yeah.
Okay, I have one more question. Sorry, but there's a thing I wanted to ask you guys. Where it's a theory. It's not of like cancer, but do you think that the shimmer would react to you the way you want it to?
I think that's a yes and a no.
Because like Tessa Thompson, she definitely wanted to be a plant. She put those things on herself.
And it accelerated.
And then like Natalie Portman, when she reached the shimmer, the people who died, those ones, they didn't go the way they wanted to go.
Nope.
But then when the chick reaches the shimmer and she wants to consume it, she wants to go with it, whereby it's me and Tim who think she definitely wanted to die, right?
Yeah.
And she definitely goes away with it.
Yeah.
But then it's not the same thing that happens to Natalie Portman, and she's standing in that same space.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole thing they had told her before. I think it was Tessa Thompson who said, Oba, you want to face it, and you want to destroy
you want
it.
to fight it.
You want to fight it, she wants to face it. And she actually fights it. So
Yes,
I
she
was
does.
thinking,
And it
there's
turns
no
into a
proper
form for her to
explanation.
fight.
Maybe it actually reacts to you the way it knows you want it to.
Yeah.
That
or
was-
the way that deep down you might want it to respond to you.
Maybe.
Because
But that's
again
what
you
I
have the
thought.
chick being randomly eaten by bear, and that's how
Those
the
are some
story is.
No,
unfortunate
I think
circumstances.
those are
But in
circumstances.
terms of the people who actually got to react to the shimmer,
No, I
fairly.
mean if you think of that zone, the shimmer in its entirety, if you interpret it as like a singular entity,
oh,
I think
if it's
I
one
don't think it swings any one
Yeah, it
way. I think
doesn't.
that it's
maybe
both.
the shimmer doesn't know how the people within it will react.
He doesn't.
Because it was
just
a bear
does
that
things.
killed
It just
those
does.
two.
It just
It just does.
just acts upon whatever it's
I thought that might be. It
Yeah,
sounds
it's just-
sensible, right?
Yeah, because it also seemed to have that human element, at least of curiosity and tinkering with things. Just in essence of that scene where it's dancing with Natalie Portman and mirroring all her things. It's just this curious thing, just messing around with whatever. I don't think.
So do you think it was the same case with Oscar Isaac when he was in the
Yeah.
lighthouse?
Yeah.
Do you think he had a similar
think
dance
so.
off and
No, I don't think. I wonder
how did he get the thingy to blow himself up?
Because that wasn't the thing. Because the way it's set up, it looks like the thing was recording him, or at least was standing behind the camera.
But it wasn't a
watching
dance
him.
off. Don't
And I'm just trying to compare it to a dance off. Mirroring each other.
dance off.
Huh?
I don't know, because also now I think I would have to go back and watch that scene with Oscar Isaac specifically, because he has a very long monologue before he blows himself up.
I was wondering, how did they do that? How did they do
what?
that?
Do it.
Like, if this thing mirrors him,
Yeah,
it was his duplicate that died, right? That was
Yeah.
blown up.
yeah.
How did his duplicate sit and talk and
Well, I
blow
think
itself
the
up?
key might have been that he wasn't fighting it, because Natalie Portman is finally able to blow it up when she stops like actively trying to either run away or like blatantly like come at it and try to throw jabs. Because when she just sort of walks up to it and they just carefully walk towards the boom, she picks it up, they hold hands, and she runs at the last moment. For me, I guess she was still kind of fighting against it, but she wasn't like actively, like physically, I guess, coming at it. And I feel like Oscar Isaacs, the way he dies, he's not like fighting anything, he's like resolved to die, to like.
So the one who dies is
himself
the
up.
real Oscar Isaac. The one who dies
Yeah.
is
And
the
he's
real
telling
one.
both
Yes.
that other Oscar
And this
Isaac
other one.
go
Yes.
to find Natalie
Yes.
Portman.
Yeah, the thing is that he's also talking to himself, because that is also Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac, yeah.
Strange.
Confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I close up. Okay, guys, that was this was our episode.
First time.
My first time.
Not bad.
I hope. Let's see you do your magic in post. See you do your magic. From everyone here at Cinema Red Pill, have a good day.
Wait,
And
we haven't
bye.
said our names.
Hey, pause this up, you have to say.
You say
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks for listening. I'm Timothy.
I'm Sharon.
And I'm Joel.
Okay, goodbye.
They are one person, they are two.